Alright, this one's going to be a little different. As you can see, this is the stand-up and record edition because we're in the process of replacing the freaking dryer. So, yeah, we're going to do the review on the old dryer instead. Enjoy this temporary space and enjoy that One Punch Man t-shirt because you only get to see this probably once, maybe even twice, depending on how quick we sell this thing. So, Sennheiser HD600 versus HD800. That's right. You got the 600 for quite some time, and then you think, well, let me jump onto the next generation that the Sennheiser line has to offer. And yeah, we're not considering the HD700s because those are just kind of a bad dream. Not really a nightmare, just not a good dream, and you just rather avoid it. So, what do they have to offer here? Let's bring them up on the table. HD600 versus HD, that's a trash can, 800 right here. Let's start off with build quality here. So for build quality, the HD600 is pretty much, it's made out of plastic mostly. It's mostly plastic except for those few metallic parts on the headphone, of course, as you can see there. But yeah, it's good plastic, don't get me wrong. It doesn't feel like it's going to break off anytime soon, but it's still plastic. Now, HD800 are actually the same way. Other than this metallic part right here and the metallic part on the grill, despite the fact that it looks like it's made out of aluminum, it's actually a plastic, it's made out of plastic with a metallic finish, or at least that's, what it looks like. This one right here is glossy, which is why you can see the reflection right there. This one is not. This one is matte. So obviously, this one may or may not be better in the long run. But as we've seen, I bought these pre-owned, and they were already in this condition. I did not incur the scratches myself. But as you can see, there are a couple scratches here and there that can occur if you're not careful with these. So keep that in mind. And yeah, these on the other hand have been absolutely babied ever since I got them. And these look brand new out of the box. So I guess kudos to me for being careful with my things. Cable right here. The cable on the 600 is very lightweight and thin, but it's flexible and rubbery. So on the flip side here, you got this cable right here. It is thick and rugged, but it is kinky and honestly, it's just tough to deal with. So out of these two, I give the win to the 600 on the cable. And yeah, there are plenty of people out there that disagree with me on the cable, but look, the fact of the matter is you don't want to feel like there's a good cable on you. You want to feel like there's no cable, and these produce that effect much better than these. It is what it is. All right. Now, as far as the color on the 600, this is like a quail egg kind of finish, and I already said glossy. But in darker environments and stuff like that, you really can't see the quail egg finish. It really just straight up looks like dark black or dark blue, This one right here is aluminum, very nice, and very, very luxurious looking. You see this headphone and you say, Jesus, how much did that thing cost? And then when you tell them how much they cost, people are like, yeah, that makes sense. Because they look the part. And these look the part as well. They look very nice. Keep in mind that the connectors for the 600 are cheaper and easier to find than the connectors on the HD800. So whenever you're going to buy an aftermarket cable or something like that, these are going to be the cheaper cable to find because of the fact that they are so easily manufactured. No, easier to find and easier to handle with, as opposed to these right here. But these are more durable because I heard this from someone. They're actually, how do you say? They are quite often used in medical devices and machines, which obviously are, built for longevity because you can't have them breaking down on someone. So now let's go into comfort. HD800s win, but not by much. And let me get into the details. The HD600s are clampy. They are a clampy headphone right here. And they can loosen up over time. Mine certainly have, not by much, but they have. You can use your own methods like the book cover method, or I mean the textbooks method, but I personally just don't like doing that. It's just, I don't like dealing with that. And I've adjusted to the clamp perfectly fine. On the flip side, these are very, very flimsy, not flimsy, but they have a very loose clamp, which makes it very tough to move your head around with these. After a while, you certainly get used to it, but there's only so much that you as a person can get used to. You can't break the laws of physics. These are just simply a slightly heavier headphone with a slightly looser clamp, or more loose clamp. And as a result, it's going to produce, it's going to result in movement on your head, as opposed to these, which just sit on your head, they attach to your head, and they become part of your head. As far as the comfort goes, I find that HD600s might be a better pick for you if you were going to move around a lot, move your head a lot on your desk, or if you're just straight up going to stand up and do chores, or move around the house or around the office every now and then. These would, hold on to your head much more strongly, in a much stronger way, and would be just better built for movement, as opposed to these, where you can't really even move your head unless they're going to slide off of position. And even though they may or may not slide off of your head, it's going to be annoying having to readjust and setting them back into place. So there's that. Also, as far as the connectors go on the cables, amp termination. This one ends in 3.5, but has an adapter for 1/4 inch, whereas the HD800 cable offers 1/4 inch. And that's it. That's what it comes with. So that's what you're stuck with, unless you buy an adapter or you buy an aftermarket cable or something like that. So as far as amping goes, as far as power goes, both of these, I ran them at 1030 gain 3 off of my AAA 789. And so just as an FYI, so I ran both of these off at 1030, and the HD800 required slightly less power to reach the level of loudness that I am used to. So there's that. It's surprising. You'd think, more expensive headphone would require the most power to receive the better result. It's actually not so much that way. So that's something. Now let's get into the sound, 30 minutes into the review. Let's get into the sound here. First and foremost, you're going to have better bass extension on the HD800s as opposed to the HD600s, which is very good. It's a good thing. It's a flatter response in the 600s. When comparing the two, the 600s have more of a mid-bass hump that, in my opinion, does not detract from music. It actually makes it better. It's not within the point in the frequency range that it makes the low end sound dirty or muddy. It's where it gives it a bump. It is just the punch. Nothing else, no lushness, no warmth. It's just the punch. It's got a little extra here, but these extend lower. That's a very good thing. Bass guitar sounds a bit clean on the 600. A bit cleaner, my mistake. But on the HD800, the bass extension allows it to play the entire spectrum of the lower bass guitar notes. So, for example, Get Lucky by Daft Punk. You got the bass guitar going on, and in this one it's more pronounced and it's more audible. But then here, when it plays the lowest notes, you can hear it extend down there and play that the little extra area in the sub bass that this one just lacks, just straight up lacks. And so this one would be up to you as far as your preference. But technically speaking, technologically speaking, these would be the better headphone as far as bass goes, bass performance alone. Another example, a new song, Ghost by Aura and Ellen Walker. The HD800 presented the low notes at around 158, more clearly spaced out and with better texture. I'll get into the imaging later on into the review. Zealots of Stockholm by Childish Gambino. You know that bass track. We all know that bass track. From beginning to post-drop, neither perceived bass adequately, although the HD800 was, slightly audible, the 600 was just gone. There was no bass down there in the sub-bass frequency. The upper bass note was more present on the 600, but had better texture on the 800, as you would expect from the previous comment. And then the drop at 305. There's a part in the frequency where you just hear the bass note, the electronic bass note go. At that point, the HD800 was audible for longer than the 600. There was less of a cutoff at the lowest point of that dip in the note. So obviously 800 over 600 as far as technicality goes. Technicality. Yeah. Technically speaking, these are the better headphone. Now, let's get into the mids. As far as the mids go, let's go jump back into Get Lucky again. The 600 sounds fuller. It does. The guitar sounds more concise and in focus. Whereas in the HD800, the guitar stands out more, but it kind of splashes everywhere, if that makes any sense. Here it's more formal, more in focus, like I said. It's more respectful. Here, it wants to shine, but it kind of shines on everything else. Still great presentation, but yeah, 600s kind of represent the guitar a little better there, in my opinion. The narrow soundstage kind of helps bring it all closer with a more comfortable sound signature on the HD600s, as far as that is concerned. Dream On, the Postmodern Jukebox cover. I tested the cello solo there, and with both, it sounds excellent. However, obviously better separation here. The cello sounds more separate from everything else. It really sounds more like a solo as opposed to, an accompaniment, On the 600s, you have this sort of lushness as opposed to the HD800. But when jumping to the HD800, you lose some of the lushness, but gain speed. It just sounds snappier as opposed to the lushness on the 600. Vocals. Female vocals. On the HD800, they sound slightly more piercing, but they have better separation for instruments due to the larger soundstage. And it has better texture overall. And as far as male vocals are concerned, the HD800 sounds slightly less full, and they're just not as impressive as the HD600s are, unfortunately. Now we jump into, by the way, F in the chat real quick, just because, check this out. This is what I have been writing my reviews on for ever since I started. It's this little spiral I've had for like 10 years already, and then I just pulled it out of somewhere and began writing on it. And this is officially the last review that this will ever be used on, so that's unfortunate. Now let's get into the treble. The HD800 are somewhat of a double-edged sword here. The HD800 treble is much brighter than the 600 treble. Maybe not as much as some biodynamics, but it is brighter for sure. It's a bright headphone. For natural music, for acoustic music, it really adds some special snappiness to it, and it really brings out the detail. And it's just so nice. It's so special. It's very, very resolving. Now, on the flip side, for electronic music or music that is kind of produced a little more on the hot side, it kills your ears. It really kills your ears. I'm going to give you an example, like, let's say, Bangarang by Skrillex. It's electronic. It's produced hot. Jesus Christ, my ears. I can't. I couldn't. For tracks like those, I was pretty much forced to use EQ on the HD800 just so that I could listen to them. Because the alternative would be to lower the volume and then, okay, you can tolerate the treble now. But the mids and the lows are, they're inaudible or just not enjoyable to the level of volume that you're used to. So I had to do that. Keep in mind, though, I did not use EQ for this review whatsoever. They were stock versus stock. No modifications, no nothing. The treble really brings out cymbals and other sounds that are generally above, like let's say this to 6 to 7K. Everything above that is just much more audible on the HD800 as opposed to the 600, which, as I said before, is either a pro or a con. Now we get to Soundstage. Jesus. HD800 win, no contest. Much wider soundstage, which brings about much better separation and presentation of detail and other things that I will get to in imaging. But yeah, everything else put together with the soundstage makes it excellent for gaming as well. I use this, for FPS shooters and stuff like that, because that's mainly where the technical aspects of the technological aspects of a headphone come into play. It's not about enjoyment, it's more about functionality. So with FPS games, Jesus, these are something else, literally quite something else. They are the best gaming headphone I have yet to hear, but of course you wouldn't just buy these for gaming unless you're like Hardware Canucks freaking Dimitri or something. But anywho, no contest. HD800 take it on the soundstage. Imaging. HD800, incredible. It is an imaging monster. Like the brighter treble and the larger soundstage and the excellent imaging, it's an entirely different experience than you've ever had before with a headphone. It's just sounds so massive, and it is worth a try. Definitely one of the strongest points of the HD800, for sure. So, we get to the final part here. Overall, who takes the cake here? Well, I certainly would say that the HD800 would, in most aspects, but not all aspects. So, let me explain. The HD800 are technologically superior than the HD600s, no doubt about that. However, the HD600 are the most neutral headphone. They sound more natural than the HD800 do. The HD800, when compared to the 600, sound a little more hollow and a little more, bright, just like hollow and bright, as opposed to the 600s. So, pros for the 600s. They are the safer choice. They are the cheaper headphone. They're better for moving around. And they're a better reference as opposed to the HD800s because more people use them. They're closer to being natural. And on top of that, they're just very, very good, very adequate, and for a cheaper price. You can most likely afford these as opposed to these. You'd be very hesitant to drop money on these just so that they're a reference headphone, HD800s, on the other hand, they have the brightness going for them. If you're into bright headphones, this is your gold mine right here. They are technologically better, as I said before. These are better for sitting down on a desk because although they are more comfortable than the 600s, the fact that you're not moving around means that you don't need to have the tight clamp. Better for gaming, definitely better for imaging. And they're better for acoustic music as opposed to electronic music. So it really depends on what your music tastes are and what you're listening to. An analogy I'd like to make here real quick is ice cream, okay? So you've got two different flavors of ice cream here when you're choosing, right? You've got pure vanilla, just stock vanilla flavor. Everybody loves vanilla. It's really hard to hate it. And even if you get a little sick of vanilla, you just go to something else real quick, or you just stop eating vanilla for a bit. But then you come back to it because it's such a staple to the flavors that you can enjoy that it's just very, very few people will dislike vanilla. Now on the flip side, you've got Rocky Road mint chip with sprinkles over here, which, okay, it's an awesome choice, but it's more of an acquired flavor, really. You either love it or you don't, and it's very hard to grow accustomed to it, grow to love it, really. It's much easier to get tired of, and it's just straight up not for everyone. Not everyone likes Rocky Road mint chip with sprinkles, but most people like pure vanilla. So that's where I'm going to leave it here. Essentially, yes, the HD800, technologically speaking, is the better headphone, but HD800s are so good that they kind of complement each other just a bit. So me personally, I've owned these for about 18 months now, and they have been my daily driver ever since for music. Now that I have these have become my daily driver, but have they become my reference? No. These are still my reference. Originally, I had planned to buy these and then sell these once I knew I wanted to keep these. Well, now that I know I want to keep these, I don't want to sell these because they're just that special. They're so damn special. So that's where I'm going to leave it off. They're two different flavors. It really depends how risky you are, you know, how much of a risk taker you are, what your use case scenario is going to be, and, you know, might even be a good idea to have both, which is what I'm going to do. Because I know for a fact that these, because they are such a specific flavor, maybe they'll go at some point, you know, they came and they might go, maybe not soon, but at some point I'll sell these maybe. But these are never leaving my arsenal. They're just not. They're here to stay until they die, or until I die. And based on Sennheiser's build quality and longevity, durability, who knows, I might die first. So that's it.